Welcome to this retro episode of the Vital Point podcast. My name is Jonathan Schecter. I'm a transformation coach, breathwork facilitator, and host of the Vital Point podcast. First of all, thank you so much for supporting the channel. If you like the podcast, if you could subscribe to the channel, there's a lot of content here, and we're constantly putting out new episodes of the podcast, in addition to trying to get these retro episodes posted as well. So I wanted to give just a little bit of context about the episode you're about to watch, just so that there's no confusion. If you've watched any of the season 1 episodes, you'll get a much longer intro about how I came up with the podcast and why it's called One Question Wednesday on these original episodes. So check that out if you are interested. Now, season 2 was still originally called One Question Wednesday when it aired on Instagram. And season 2 begins with buying this microphone. The first season didn't have any mics. And it ended when I decided to change the name of the podcast and rebrand it from One Question Wednesday to The Vital Point. And the reason for that is pretty simple. I just started to get better at podcasting, and the conversations that I was having with the guests were starting to get longer and longer and really not follow the one question format in which we started. The other thing was, I was like, why did I decide to call it One Question Wednesday? What if I don't want to publish on Wednesday? Why did I paint myself into that corner? So yeah, there's some amazing guests in this season. We still were recording on Instagram using Instagram Live to build an audience, to build engagement. However, season 2, I also started to notice that maybe Instagram wasn't the best format for a longer podcast. And there were some technical issues on a few of the episodes, including one episode that I wasn't able to salvage for YouTube, just because there were just some quality issues with what happened on the Instagram video. But nonetheless, there's some amazing guests here, some really cool topics, and really starting to get into like what the podcast was about. You know, it started to become more clear to me as I started to get better at hosting. And it's still a little rough, to be honest, in these earlier episodes, but also like what I wanted to do with the podcast. So there's, some somatic experiencing, there's some breath work, there's integration. And the episode ends with a great interview with Matt Gottesman, and then starts the tradition that I've kept up till this point of ending the season with a Q&A. And that was where it started to get more of me doing solo casts instead of just having a guest, which is how we started. So I hope you enjoy this episode that you're about to watch. I hope you are enjoying the new episodes that continue to be posted weekly here on YouTube and on all audio platforms. If you have been checking those out and then you're coming back to this retro episode, you might notice it being a little bit rough around the edges. But hey, that's how we grow. That's how we learn. And we all have to start somewhere, And if you're interested in learning more about breathwork, about psychedelic integration, about how to put some of these practices into your life to transform, definitely click the link below and get my free guide to using breathwork for integration. You'll also be subscribed to my newsletter, and there's all kinds of amazing stuff on there, including news about breathwork circles online that I hold, and if you're in Tucson, events that I hold in person. So again, thank you so much for supporting the show. Thank you for supporting the channel. If you know anybody that it would enjoy these podcasts, please share it with them. And like always, the vital point is to practice. We don't get stronger by reading about push-ups. So one of my goals with the podcast is to share all these different types of practices with you so that you feel inspired to go and practice them. So hope that you enjoy this. Our guest is Rogue Zen monk, JP Cole. He is a Buddhist monk. He is a mindfulness and meditation teacher, and just all around great guy. So,
Thank you.
JP,
Thank you.
welcome to the show.
I feel honored to be here. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Well, I met you last year in your inaugural course for.
Yeah.
Remind me the name of the school again, so I don't mess it up.
Oh, you're great. It's the Meditation and Mindfulness Institute for Humans. So we say MMIH.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one of the things that I really liked about JP's program is, in addition to going over mindfulness and different types of meditation, you really incorporated your own style, where you have the Zen kind of teaching stories, the koans. Perhaps people are familiar with like the sound of one hand clapping, right? That's one of the more famous koans. So I guess the question for today's show is, what is your favorite koan? And if you could just kind of expand on it a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, there's several koans that I really love, but there is one in particular that I really feel represents why we meditate and why we focus on mindfulness. Some of you may have heard of this short story koan before. This is when there's a samurai, this great samurai had been known throughout the kingdom for how valiant, strong, wonderful he is. He approached a monk and he asked the monk boldly, "Is there heaven and hell?" So the monk looked up at him and said, "Who are you?" He said, "Well, I am one of the greatest samurais in the kingdom, and I've asked you a question. Is there heaven or hell?" And the monk looked at him again. He's like, "Oh, you don't look so tough to me. You're probably not even that strong." And as he was talking to the samurai started to get angry. He goes, "You probably don't even know how to use that sword. You probably have never done anything with it. You're not even worth my time." So the samurai is fueled with anger at this point and drew his sword. And he drew it and he's about to stab the monk. Just then, the monk looked at him and said, "That is hell." The samurai fell. He couldn't believe how angry he became and how he was just about to kill this monk from his anger. And then after a moment, that anger started to wash away. And the monk was telling him that, "I forgive you. It's no problem." And the samurai smiled. And the monk told him, "That is heaven." So the meaning behind just that short little story of koan is how much we really decide and can control our emotions and how we feel and how we respond to things, and how a mindfulness and meditative practice can lead us on that path. We're not looking for perfection. We're humans, right? But to at least practice. So in those moments where you may be fueled with anger, your mindfulness and your practice can allow you to embrace those feelings, observe them, and be able to let them dissipate, let them go. And the thing that I love about this story too, why it's one of my favorites, because it really defines that we do create our heaven and hell, right? We create it, we have control, or we create that. So how do we want to live our lives? How do we want to experience this life that we have, this, no matter what your beliefs are, this one chance we have, right? Do we want to experience that in joy and or regret, or do we want to experience that in anger, or we don't want to experience that in loving kindness, right? So this story wraps all that into one. That's why it's one of my favorite stories, quick, to the point, and such a significant meaning to it, and how powerful your mind and all the stories it creates is, right?
Yes, definitely. Like our mind is creating everything. I read something recently. It said we've never lived outside of our own heads, not for 1 second.
That's right.
And
That's
it's
absolutely right.
I think it's something that we tend to forget, that, not only
Mhm.
are we living in our own head, but there's nobody else exactly in the same head. We're all kind of
Yes.
living in these little bubbles, assuming that we're all sharing one consciousness.
Hmm. Hmm.
In reality, we're all seeing and perceiving and experiencing everything completely differently.
Absolutely. That is perfect the way you said that. I mean, our minds are just constantly running simulations. And many times those simulations that it's running are not even true. And then sometimes we're reacting off that simulation that we ran, and it's not even real. And that's where meditation, mindfulness, that that you do so well, and just I hope everyone who's watching this develops that practice, because it's really about slowing that down so you can balance without going too in depth, and neuroscience, but that left brain and right brain, right? Really to balance that out, so we're not just living in this illusion that we our minds have created, right?
Right.
It's fascinating the more that you get in touch with all the emotions and the feelings that are inhabited in this body, right? That's really what it is, just a body. But yeah.
Yeah, and I love the other point that you touched on, that just the reminder that we are creating that heaven and hell state. I think,
Mm-hmm.
at least for me, the way that I grew up, those ideas of heaven and hell were something outside, something that
Right.
I would be going to someday, depending on how I behaved.
Mm-hmm.
Either the carrot or the stick, uh, to put it another way, right?
Right.
But it's not something, enlightenment isn't something that's outside of us. It's not something that's
Right.
apart from us. It's here in the present moment. It's
Mm-hmm.
it's up to us to recognize it with each breath that we're taking. And that's what I
Yeah.
love about mindfulness, is it really connects us to that present, and gives us that opportunity to take a breath and see, oh yeah, here it is.
Yeah, no, yeah, you're right. It's the absolute greatest journey exploration that we can take on this planet is here, right? The things and amazing things that you can discover are here. And then it makes everything else that you witness and see even that more amazing. Uh, it's uh, it's a spectacular, just when I just think about it. So I hope that that same energy is flowing into those that may be beginning to practice, or those that have been practicing for a long time. That is the most amazing journey that we can take. It's just to continue to discover this, right? Yeah. Sorry, I get overly excited about the aspects of just meditation and mindfulness.
I mean, that's my kind of excitement, right?
That's
Like,
right.
geek out about
That's right.
mindfulness and meditation. It's awesome.
Mhm. Yeah, that's like it's my favorite subject. That's
Well,
awesome.
awesome, JP. I really appreciate you being on the show. Where
Yeah, I
can
love this.
people learn more about you and about your programs?
Yeah, absolutely. There are two ways to reach out to me. One is roguezenmonk at gmail.com. Definitely reach out to me if you have questions, or you just want to chat about developing your practice, or expanding your practice. The other way to reach me is my favorite one is monk at madeforjoy.life. That's monk at madeforjoy.life. So, and also friend me on Facebook if you like. I do meditations each Sunday. They're live. You're welcome to check that out as well. That's 9:30 Pacific time. But yeah, anywhere. Those are spaces to find me. Other than that, you'll probably see me wandering around somewhere if
Yeah,
you're interested for you.
Maybe on the beach making your mandalas.
That's right. Mandalas, that's right. You'll find me somewhere, but please reach out if you have questions. I'm very accessible. If you just email me.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time, JP. It was a pleasure to have you on One Question Wednesday. And thanks to everybody that tuned in and watching this on the replay. Until next week, friends, take care.
Thank you. You take care.
Bye.